Minister Mchunu, in his testimony, he claimed that the PKTT has shown budget inefficiencies and rising costs. It was one of the reasons why he called for disbandment. Do you agree with him?
I have not discussed the budget of the PKTT with the minister.
Does it mean you agree or you disagree with the minister?
I would not know. I cannot confirm because the operational decisions are taken by the accounting officer.
So for you to say you can't agree or disagree with the minister, I think that is being dismissive and evasive.
5 years of spending millions. General, I'm going to say to you, crime intelligence is stealing this money. There has been allegations of crime intelligence misusing this money for the longest time ever. I'm asking you, as the handler of the purse, you are allocating these budgets. How are you, in your capacity, ensuring that this money gets spent and on the right things and we have value for money?
General, the testimony of Minister Mchunu, in his testimony he claimed that the PKTT has shown budget inefficiencies and rising costs. And for this reason, that was one of the reasons why he called for disbandment. Do you agree with him?
I have not discussed the budget of the PKTT with the minister as the CFO.
But based on your knowledge of the cost implications, do you agree with him?
As we had indicated on Annexure B and the comparison that we had made, these are the normal operational costs that interventions as well as task teams will incur in this regard to deal with crime patterns as well as crime threats that would have been identified by the National Commissioner working together with his operational teams. So these are the costs that we normally spend. However, it does not necessarily mean that if there is a task team that is established and funding is available, then there shouldn't be systems in place to ensure that there are efficiencies as well as cost control or cost containment in this particular regard. But when you look at other task teams there, depending on the decisions that would have been taken, whether to demobilize or to reduce the number of personnel that will have been deployed, these are some of the normal costs that we normally incur. And I take cue from the National Commissioner together with his operational teams, because they are the ones who are responsible to ensure that they prevent and combat crime in this country. If they sit in their operational meetings and they evaluate and they come to a
Sorry,
conclusion.
General, sorry. Just because the time is very short, does what you just explained, does it mean you agree or you disagree with the minister?
I would not know how the minister would have come to that conclusion without a report or an indication being made to him.
Well, he's making an allegation, and that's what we are testing here. He's making an allegation. You are the authority on saying whether that allegation is true or not. So he says the PKTT has shown budget inefficiencies and rising costs. He made an allegation. Now I'm asking you to either confirm it or not. You are the authority there to say, no, minister is wrong. There's no budget inefficiencies there.
I cannot confirm because the operational decisions are taken by the accounting officer, unless if he would have engaged the accounting officer.
So you don't have a position. You don't have a position of agreement or disagreement with the statement, no? Okay, let's look at your statement in paragraph 13.3. Let's see whether it is indeed true that you don't have such concerns. Paragraph 13.3, you say that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi made a submission that he signed for 58.5 million rand. And then you say, at the time, the DNC responsible for policing was General Masimola, who is now the National Commissioner. And he signed, and General, Tumani that signed and wrote the recommendation. But you then raised the concern to say that there was 2 signatures missing, but it was submitted to your office. And you raised the concern. Is that correct?
It's incorrect. I've never raised any concern about missing signatures.
You raised the concern here.
It's not a concern. I'm just articulating what was sitting on that submission.
Okay, so are you saying that that request did not require the signatures of...
It did. This is the record or the document that I do have.
So I'm asking you, if it did require, if the normal process is that those signatures are required, is that correct for them to do?
I did not raise any concern. The ultimate approval in terms of these expenses was done by the National Commissioner. From time to time, the operational environment, they evaluate these interventions, and they then are requested to put together either requests for funding or reports, progress reports to the National Commissioner. So I did not raise any concern in terms of this. It's just a document that I'm indicating that where this matter comes from, because for the purposes of testimony, I was to focus on PKTT. So I'm outlining the order of events in terms of what happened, when, who said what.
All right, so it wasn't wrong for them to do that. It wasn't wrong.
There would have been reasons why those signatures were outstanding, but the ultimate approval was made by the National
Was it wrong to submit to you without signatures or not?
Documents must be signed by everyone.
So it was wrong.
For me, this is not raised as a concern.
It's fine, but was it wrong? Now that it's here, I'm asking you what's before me. Was it wrong?
Other signatures should have been found.
So it was wrong.
In terms of this document, if you put it that way, however, I want to emphasize that the allocation of funding to PKTT is approved by the accounting officer. Ultimately, the final allocation was approved by the accounting officer. So this is not raised as a concern. It is just explaining the order of events and where this PKTT comes from and the work that has been done and the discussions and the reports and a lot of documents that have gone on in this regard.
Yes. Would you agree that here you are raising concern?
Yes.
You are?
It was a letter that was addressed to the relevant line managers.
Okay, but you are raising a concern.
I am raising concerns.
I just wanted to confirm so that we don't dispute on that. Let's deal with what your concern was. Number one, you say overtime expenditure in the 2020-21 financial year is not visible against the project code. ORS should correct such for transparency purposes.
Yes.
So it was wrong.
When projects and initiatives are put in place for purposes of reporting and transparency, I indicated that we create a project code and we expect all managers to then vest expenditure against that project code. Yes, they were wrong that for that particular period in terms of expenditure, that was not vested against that project code. So from a monitoring point of view and accountability, I could not see such. So I'm putting it to their attention so that they correct.
You've done well. I agree with you.
And they did correct such.
I agree with you. You've done very well to raise that concern, to say this is a budgetary inefficiency.
Yes.
Right? And that's what you're saying to them. That's what the minister has said in his testimony. Then you go further and you say, overtime claims of most individuals deployed for the project depicted that 100 hours of overtime was worked for most months. Then you say, even during lockdown, when movement restrictions were enforced in April and May, these individuals continued to work 100 hours of overtime.
Yes.
And then you also express concern that the overtime amount is high and it is adding to the pressure of the limited funding that's available to SAPS.
Yes, I raised those concerns with the Deputy National Commissioner.
You've done very well.
Policy.
You've done extremely well. And this now corroborates the allegation of rising costs.
But I did not write this letter to the minister.
That's good.
It was a letter that was written to the Deputy National Commissioner. These are the normal concerns that as CFO, when you monitor expenditure patterns, you will then
General,
deal
would you
with these
agree
particular issues.
that the letter doesn't have to be written to the minister for the allegation to be true? The allegation is true that the PKTT, based on your testimony,
I have not been called to present
you are
such
testifying today.
to the minister.
Well, you're testifying to us now. And your testimony is agreeing with the position of the minister.
I have not been called by the minister to present this analysis.
We're calling you, and in front of us, what you've given to us agrees with the minister.
I do not know where would the minister have gotten a brief.
It doesn't matter. I also don't know. What I know is the testimony of the minister and your testimony on the fact that the PKTT, there's budget inefficiencies and there is rising cost. Both of you are saying the same thing.
Chair, on my testimony, I've said these are normal concerns that we raise with the relevant managers, including the National Commissioner. They go back, they regroup, they then consider this and they ensure that they assist us with efficiencies as well as cost containment. Together with the analysis of crime patterns and the situations that they're trying to sort out, then decisions, operational decisions are taken. And we get requests for funding, having taken those decisions by the accounting officer together with the relevant operatives, the accounting officer approves. It does not necessarily mean that when I raise this, they are not taken into account. If you look at other interventions, you will see a decline in terms of costs. It then tells you that managers would have set, evaluated, and decided to say, here we have stabilized, the crime threat is no longer visible, let us reduce the deployment in this particular regard. So these are normal decisions and conversations that take place in an organization, and the accounting officer accounts and is the ultimate approval in this particular regard. There would be progress reports that are compiled by the NCCF or the relevant project managers to the National Commissioner to say, yes, we hear the concerns. However, the work that we are doing, the situation that we are dealing with requires that we maintain these numbers, or requires us, we are satisfied that we have stabilized, we are hereby then sort of reducing the number of deployments. So these are normal things that we do as the police as we continue to do our work. But as CFO, it is my responsibility to monitor and raise these particular issues. It doesn't mean that when I raise them, then task teams must be closed. Doesn't mean that. And the closure of the task teams is not my decision. As I indicated, it's a decision of the National Commissioner, having considered that we wanted to deal with has been dealt with. I raise concerns every day on everything, not only on operations. We have cost containment policies that we have approved, that we expect each and every manager to assist us, that the resources that we have, as limited as they are, we are able to utilize them to ensure that we combat crime in this country and ensure that the people of this country are safe. It is my job.
But based on your professional opinion, you do testify today that what you've put before us is concerns of budgetary inefficiencies and rising costs. Correct?
I've raised these concerns with the relevant line manager.
Is that answer yes?
I've raised these concerns, yes, with the relevant line manager.
All right.
No, the response, the question was to the CFO was whether she agrees or not with the concern of the minister, the budgetary concern. And the response was that, she doesn't know where the minister took that from, and she can't say she agrees or she doesn't with the minister. Now the question is, CFO, are you in terms of the statutory obligation, you are the custodian of the financial affairs of SAPS, correct?
I'm appointed to assist the accounting officer to execute his responsibilities.
No, in relation to financial issues.
Yes.
You are the custodian. So if I can come and say SAPS in its account as 100 rand, you have a responsibility because we are in a better position to give clarity in that regard, correct?
Yes.
You can say Nomvalo is lying, we don't have 100 rand in our account, we have this amount, these are the records. Now also, it's peculiar for you. I find it peculiar and imprudent and evasive that you can, like you are just an ordinary person, say you are not in a position to either agree or disagree with the minister because you know better than all South Africans the financial positions, the financial position of SAPS. So for you to say you can't agree or disagree with the minister, I think that is being dismissive and evasive.
Chair, it would have been easy if one would have been requested to make presentations and to engage in this particular regard. However, it is my view that between the minister and the national commissioner, there are continuous conversations. So one is not in a position to can talk on the issue of the PKTT to say what was in front of the minister at that point in time.
Not the PKTT, but the budgetary concern.
Honorable.
I didn't know I'm allocated.
Your time has expired.
I didn't know. You didn't tell me there's allocation of time.
It was up. It was not opportunistic.
No, but I'm not being opportunistic. I'm being inquisitive. What do you mean now? You are ridiculing my follow-up question. I'm being inquisitive. I'm not opportunistic.
Let's not debate it.
Please don't label my follow-up question like that. Please. I'm taking offense on what you are doing.
The time to ask.
But don't label my question like that and say I'm opportunistic.
No, listen to me, Honorable Nomvalo. Your questions were follow-ups, yes. But once you go beyond the reasonable time, you are opportunistically using that moment to smuggle yourself into a time you do not have.
But you should have told me how much time is allocated for follow-ups.
That is not for debate. That is a convention in this.
But I'm copying your ruling. It's wrong.
Look, your time has expired, honorable members. Let's not take it any further. Can we go to Honorable James?
Thank you so much, Chair. Afternoon, General. On page 21 of your statement, just excuse my voice.
Paragraph
21.
Paragraph
20. Page 21, paragraph 25.
Yes, Chair.
In relation to the work study report, you state there, I wish to state clearly that I have not given anyone permission to access the submission nor utilize it to their defense. I deem this as unauthorized and an abuse of a conversation that the CFO had with the accounting officer. What did you do about this?
I have...
because this is a very serious statement that you hear.
I have not done anything about it. What I then tried to do was to say, perhaps we must, because this was also on the media, and you will see on the media that the entire comment is not there. It's only the comment that talks about deactivation. So I had requested communication that perhaps we need to correct this as advised to say, you know, let's allow the commission as well as the committee to do its work, because it will not be prudent that every time something is out there in the media, we issue a statement and so on and so on. But I have not done anything to say, let me report this. But for me, it would have been best that those that wanted to use this, at least they ask me, what did I mean in this regard? But I have not done anything.
General, you spoke very passionately about this earlier on.
Yes.
In your statement here, when you said, I have not given anyone permission to access it, that in my mind tells me that people stole from your office, that people stole a document and used it without your permission. That means in your office there's a risk when it comes to accessing documents.
No, Chair.
And you have done nothing about it.
No, Chair. This document is not sitting in my office. It is an application from the project leader. It goes through the stages, as I indicated earlier, up until the approving authority approves, which is the National Commission, and then it goes back to its origin or to the author. What I do have a copy. So there's a likelihood that it is at NOCC or it is where it originated. So I am not the custodian of this particular document. What was just strange for me was that the document is used, and the comments that I have made, that I had only the conversation with the accounting officer, that without understanding the context of where I came from, people decided to utilize it. But I'm not the custodian. It goes back to the author of that submission. I remain with a copy.
Thank you. Are you saying that the minister came here and he misled this committee?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the document was utilized and I was not aware in terms of that, because if I was aware, I could have explained the context of this. I was not aware that it will be utilized by himself, including General Sibia.
General, Minister Beki appeared before this parliament. He refuted the use of the word, the letter N for national, in reference to the national PKTT, which Minister Mchunu repeatedly emphasized. More importantly, to your knowledge, was the PKTT, the establishment, national or provincial? Because which one of the two ministers were lying? Was it Minister Beki or Minister Mchunu?
I've always known this team to be called PKTT. Though I had not participated in IMC meetings, but I've known it to be called PKTT.
All right, so you are saying that Minister Mchunu again misled this House?
I am not certain in terms of the NPKTT.
General, you said earlier on that people don't take accountability for their actions, and we need you to speak truth here today. I'm asking, did you think that the minister misled this House?
I do not participate in the IMC structures.
General, can you conclude that part which you wanted to say before you answer the next question?
I have always known this team to be called the PKTT. I do not participate in the IMC structures and all those structures that the project leader together with the National Commissioner would be participating. For the purposes of my function, which is to confirm funding, I have always known this team to be called PKTT. I cannot confirm to say the minister misled. Perhaps such discussions did take place elsewhere, but I cannot vouch for such.
But General, you can confirm because you did the budget allocation.
To the PKTT?
Yes. So you can confirm whether it was provincial or national, because you did the budget allocation, and when I look at your budget allocation, it speaks to all the areas within KZN only. So why are you saying you cannot confirm?
What I indicated is that all operations are run from the National Operations Center. When interventions and task teams are put in place, that decision is taken by the National Commissioner to go and support a province. For the purposes of a PKTT, it was established to deal with the situation in KwaZulu-Natal. The issue to say it had then expanded its scope, that particular operational decision, I was not aware of. I do not participate in the IMC structures and all that, and these decisions are taken by the project leaders working together with the National Commissioner in this regard. The reason why I had said put together a permanent structure in KwaZulu-Natal, I was of the view that this team is supporting KwaZulu-Natal, but the money that is utilized is not the baseline of KwaZulu-Natal. It is money that would have been put together from national in addition to supporting the work that is taking place in KwaZulu-Natal. So whether the end then came into being, those would be best explained between the minister as well as the National Commission. I have always known it as a
General, I
PKTT.
put it to you that only in the end, the National Commissioner had then said that the scope of the PKTT needs to extend to national. Am I correct?
Yes.
So we're meaning initially that the work was not for national, it was for provincial, and you allocated that budget for provincial operations.
The PKTT, which
Yes,
was
for the
established
PKT, you
to deal-
allocated, you signed off the budget.
Yes.
So why are you saying that you're not sure if it was national or if it was provincial?
The Chair, the NPKTT, I'm saying I've known this team to be called PKTT.
General, I want to move to another area of concern relating to budget. The money set aside for informants is astronomical. And with my understanding of how the system works, I want to raise a few questions about the expenditure on informants, right? How was 3 million monitored in relation to cash disbursements to informants?
May I ask, Chair, which page is the member on?
Somewhere, and I didn't allocate that page. Never mind the amount for the sake of time. How do you monitor the cash payments of informants?
There are policies that exist in terms of within crime detections and those that utilizes this in terms of ensuring that these monies are accounted for. We do have policies in place. Of course, you will then have the other account, which is the service account that has its own processes. So there are policies in place and the relevant officials within crime detection, crime intelligence that then are supposed to ensure compliance to those policies.
General, I'm going to say to you, crime intelligence is stealing this money. There has been allegations of crime intelligence misusing this money for the longest time ever. I'm asking you, as the handler of the purse, you are allocating these budgets. How are you in your capacity ensuring that this money gets spent and on the right things and we have value for money?
Check.
What do you have in your receipt? We know that there's policies for all of these things. I'm asking, what monitoring tools do you have in place to ensure that when you allocate 3 million for informants, 3 million was actually allocated and given to those informants?
Crime intelligence has two sets of budget, Chair. I have not had any complaints in terms of the open budget that I am responsible for. One has had complaints in terms of the Secret Service account, which has its own CFO and its own rules that is managing and governing that particular. But on the open budget, I have not had any complaints in terms of program for
So,
allocation.
General, do you rely on complaints to pick up misconduct and corruption? I'm asking you what monitoring tools, you are assigning huge budgets, what monitoring tools do you have in place?
If there are complaints, it means the internal controls that we have in place are either inadequate and inefficient. We do have policies, we do have controls in place, we have sufficient safeguards. So the absence of complaints then tells you that your systems are adequate in this regard.
Let me ask it like this. What system exists to manage and track how much money is paid to whom and for what information?
In terms of crime intelligence secret service account, that I will not be in a position to respond. It has its own CFO and they account to different levels of structures in this particular regard.
So you are passing this one on to the crime intelligence CFO. You are saying this is not under your mandate.
This is for the secret service account.
You're not responsible for the secret service, even though you the.
I'm not. It has its own CFO.
Okay. General, task teams are generally immediate stabilization interventions, correct?
Yes.
You explained it nicely earlier on.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. What sort of justifies having a task team for 5 years?
As I indicated, the operational teams together with the National Commissioner continuously conduct crime threat patterns, crime pattern analysis, and they take decisions to stabilize and to support provinces or any areas that remain stubborn. Some of the areas sometimes remain stubborn and they require these interventions. For me, as I indicated, my knowledge of a task team is that it is established for a specific purpose, for a specific period. If it becomes a little bit longer, then it means it is dealing with a permanent problem. That is why then, from a resource point of view, one would have advised to say, why is it that we are not putting this as a permanent structure so that we can resource it properly? Obviously, the operatives would have done their crime patterns and analysis and taken decisions in terms of what is prevailing on the ground and those challenges that they are dealing with. My understanding is that investigations do take time. Certain investigations and investigators will have dockets that will go to court and take years and so on and so on, but the operational environments are the ones that takes the ultimate operational decisions based on what they would have analyzed and what is on the table and the intelligence that they might have.
I want to ask Operation Lockdown, Thunder, what has been the value for money for SAPS with this operation, which has shown blatant failures in the Western Capes? In fact, it has gotten worse, with a budget of almost 500 million being spent with little to show for it.
Earlier, during the day on my testimony, I indicated that is a question that I'm interested in. In SAPS, we do not have a model that assesses the value for money in terms of operations.
Sorry, General, you said that is a question you are interested in, meaning that you will continue to sign off on budgets without having a clear indication of whether the STAR scheme is being effective and whether there's value for money.
No, Chair. That is why we have tasked our research environment to, one, conduct an impact study on all these operations. And my understanding is that they are done with Valamgodi intervention as well as the lockdown. But that impact assessment report has not been presented to anyone. Over and above that, then they are developing a value for money model for us. And that is as a result of a task that came directly from myself and my team, because we want to ensure that the investment that we make in terms of these interventions yield the necessary results. So we are in the process of finalizing this. There is a commitment that before the end of March, the value for money model would have been given to us, because we need support from that. But indication is that it's not easy. A lot of variables have to be taken into account. A lot of stakeholders have to be consulted in this particular regard. So it is an area that we are working on. One is interested to ensure that then the SAPS has a model that we can utilize to assess all these interventions and ultimately be able to give comfort that these interventions are value for money.
General, 5 years of spending millions on various task teams. Had it not been for General Mokonazi's press state conference, would you have embarked on developing a practice that will be able to determine the impact of these task teams?
We requested it in 2024 in October.
In 2024, so prior to that, so every year for 5 years, you've been funding over 11 task teams.
I have written to the relevant managers. You will see in some of the attachments that I've made as part and parcel of the concerns to say they must determine whether the threats still exist, what is the impact, what is the value for money in this particular regard. As I indicated, they will convene the operatives and do evaluations and take operational decisions approved by the account officer. I have raised these particular issues. Now, we need a model, Chair, that we can utilize. We don't have that model. That is why we took the initiative in 2024 in October, prior to the press conference of July 6. We have already taken initiatives and we look forward to that particular model that we can implement across the country to ensure that we are in a position to can assess and monitor this. Of course, the work of the police overall is measured in terms of the decline in crime trends. You will see the release of crime statistics, the work that the police continued to do, and the inroads that they continue to make in this regard. But that model, we're looking forward to it. It will assist the department to ensure that all these investments that we have made, we are able to give comfort that it is yielding the desired results.
General, how far is that model and when is its due date to be rolled out?
The head research has given a commitment that before the end of this financial year, that model will be ready.
Thank you, Chair.
Have you stopped speaking, General Dimpane? This was our last speaker during this session.